Coach Ty. I'm interviewing Coach Ed. This is just us having a conversation about what made Coach Ed kind of get into working with the youth, as well as starting the Fortified Strength youth lifting program, and kind of his road on how he managed to start as a CrossFit coach and reach out to the level that he's at right now with training a national champion athlete, having a group of individuals who have qualified at multiple events, multiple tournaments, doing amazing things. So thank you for joining us right now. This is Coach Ed. So Coach Ed, first question. Let's start from when you made the choice to start working here, or obviously coming into CrossFit San Ramon and working with the youth. Let's get to what kind of led you to that point and the whole entire thing. Like, how'd you even find CrossFit and all that?
Yeah,
Let's start there.
Randomly found CrossFit through Carl Powley. I used to work at a nonprofit organization with him, teaching youth gymnastics at a recreational level. He was teaching the boys team, and I was teaching dance there at the time, dabbling a little bit in gymnastics. I did a little bit when I was young. And, he's just hanging out with me one day, and he's like, hey, I got this thing called CrossFit, man. I think it'd be really good for you as an athlete. But breakdancing, I think it'd be really good. You should try it out. And, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of do my own thing. I don't know. He's like, let's just try it out one time to do it. And I was like, all right, So it takes us back to Sports Basement in Presidio. That's where CrossFit San Francisco had first started out. Kelly Starrett started this gym out of container. So he had, just a container, like a shipping yard container, and in there he had plates, weights, and barbells, some squat racks, just a few things, right?
And this is the Kelly Starrett.
This is the Kelly Starrett.
That's where it all started.
It was all outdoors. It was a playground gymnastics, like hanging rig thing that we did pull-ups on, and he had like a small container that was no bigger than this room here that he was just doing body work on. He was helping people, doing some physical therapy.
Wow.
Because he was still going to school, was finishing up school, getting his doctorate as a physical therapist. And so Kelly is there, and he brought on Carl Powley and Diane Fu. Carl Powley being the gymnastics guy, because that's what CrossFit, one of the staples of CrossFit, and Diane Fu, who worked with Jim Schmidt, who was an Olympic coach in 1972 or something like that, for her weightlifting, right? Okay. And so that was the trifecta of people that started CrossFit, San Francisco CrossFit.
Wow.
He hits me there, and he has me these flipping tires, running down the block. I almost threw up, man. I was like, man, and it was like this thing, and he's like, all right, now do a bunch of windmills, and so I'm spinning on my head, like, nauseous, and like, all right, now throw this wall ball around, and I was like, dude, this is ridiculous, man. I was like, thanks, Carl. I don't know if this is my thing. I don't think I'm ever gonna come back, man. This was really hard, man. I almost threw up, man.
So really quick, I'm just curious. So what was your usual workout regimen prior to CrossFit?
Oh, so prior to CrossFit, man, like, I came from a wrestling background, so I did a little bit of that, but in dance, like, there's short rounds, a short burst. There's a lot of animal stuff. Get down, do something really like high intense, and then we stop for a second. High intense, we kind of stop for a second, right? And we go for hours on this, and just like this kind of interval back and forth all day and every day, and with like a little bit of strength training, not anything with weights. It was just like push-ups, handstand, stuff like that, like a lot of gymnastics stuff, a lot of body weight stuff. So it was not a lot of resistance training, right? So we didn't hit the weights a whole lot, man. Not like I used to in high school. So that was it, right? So CrossFit like tested the thresholds like you wouldn't believe, right? You know what I mean? Like So I was like, this is a much, man. I don't know, man. So I was like, I don't think I'll come back. I got to practice the next day, and I'm feeling really good, right?
Ooh, okay.
I'm feeling really good. Out of nowhere, right? I'm like, man, I feel really good. And I was like, maybe there's something to it, right? So Carl, some of the other buddies that were with me, they were like, yeah, I'm not doing CrossFit, man. They jumped out. But Carl invited me out, and he had a special friends group. It was like Tuesday and Thursdays. I drive from, if you're familiar with San Francisco, I drive from the Haight over there where Kezar Stadium is at. That's where the gym is at. All the way down to Presidio Tuesday and Thursdays after it. And we just work out in the parking lot, doing a little bit of everything, right? Do some deadlifts. Like, you find some pictures online of me doing some stuff in the backyard. They call it the parking lot of dreams. and do some deadlifts and things like that. And then next thing you know, like the community starts growing, and there's like full-on classes there in the evening time, right? And it's no longer just Kelly and a couple of guys or whatever in the morning. There's like full-on classes. You get there, it is busy. There's like 3 classes running there at a time, right? We have Carl's Special Friends group. We have the actual CrossFit class, and there's like I don't know what the heck else was going on there with Kelly, and like there's full-on classes there, and we're running in and out of the parking lot, man.
And also that's what I was gonna ask. All this in and out the parking lot.
Out of the
we
parking
now
lot.
have classes. We now have group sessions.
Yeah.
Things are brewing.
Yeah, like he had to a point where he had to like put up a little laptop to have people sign in now, because now they're doing they have to do an online sign in. And so we had to go in there and check in on the little laptop and the computer.
Wow.
He opened up the second part of the container unit for like a little office, so you just sign in and like you're like, all right, pull your weights out. So everybody had to pull the racks out, set them all up, and we were in the parking lot. Sometimes it's raining out there, and we're in the rain squatting,
just getting after it,
man. And
wow,
it was crazy, man. It wasn't until maybe 2 years later where they actually bought a CrossFit rig and put it outside. Like everything else was just like it was bare knuckle bones, man. Like you know what I mean? It was crazy, right?
This is the story.
That's the story. It's across San Francisco. It made enough money to move into the warehouse, right? Which is like the actual warehouse where they ever been in before. And that's when I actually started. I was like, maybe I need to come on and do it. And I tried to do it a little bit before and coach a little bit, but it was too much. Like while they're in the parking lot, I wasn't ready for it. When they moved to the warehouse, I started coaching there, right? And they made me do 150 hours of interning.
Wow.
150 hours of interning. That was there watching classes, running classes for 150 hours. It was a lot, man. And you had to be there during the meetings, and that didn't count for your hours. You have to meet with the head coach every now and then. That didn't count for the hours. To make sure that you understand what the programming was, understand CrossFit. Then you got to get your level 1. You know how that is.
They were really big.
They were really big on it, because they didn't want to have any coaches there that didn't know what they were doing, because everybody there had to be an extension of Kelly almost, right?
Ah.
It was crazy, right?
So it was almost like an apprenticeship program.
It was. You had to go to the mobility class, when he had the seminar, you had to go to that and be level 1 certified through him. You had to do Carl's seminar, gymnastic stuff. You had to work with Diane Fu. It was legit. It was intense, bro. It was
those are hitters.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't finish it. And the first couple times, I tried to finish it, and I couldn't. I had to restart the whole internship because it was hard, man. And then I decided to finish the internship when my life was the most difficult. I had moved back to San Ramon. I was still now an athletic director at a high school, because I left the organization I was at to become an athletic director, getting into kind of wrestling a little bit and coaching and teaching out of there, and riding my bike from home here to the BART station to Montgomery Street, riding my bike early morning to San Francisco CrossFit, spending all day there, then riding my bike down back to Excelsior District.
Time out really quick. I just want to get this right.
Yeah.
So you were doing all of that as an internship.
At the internship.
So there was no payment for this time that you were spending on riding the bike, catching the bar, and then spending the entire day to get your hours, and then coming home.
Yep. No payment. No payment.
That's what it takes.
Yeah. But I knew I needed to be at San Francisco CrossFit, right? I knew they were the guys doing stuff in the field of strength and conditioning that I wanted to be a part of. Because Kelly just started blowing up after that. He wrote his book, and he had me in the trailer in one of his first book trailers. Carl started doing his stuff with freestyle, and he was blowing up, and he was starting to do his thing. Diane Fu had Fu Barbell. Everybody started blowing up, right? Everybody started just catching fire, right? So then, you'll see it over the history of time of the people who are internship. Every single person that came out of there they're doing something in their field at some point, in some shape or form, whatever, right?
That's amazing.
Everybody's doing something. So it's actually pretty crazy, it's pretty nuts that I've come full circle of where I'm at now. So all that, right? I'm okay, I got my internship. I started coaching there maybe 1 or 2 hours just to keep my foot in the door there. I was I gotta find CrossFit out here. I gotta find somewhere out here, right? And CrossFit was interesting at the time. You had a bunch of gyms. It was the wildfire. Everybody had a CrossFit gym, right? There's one down the street, there's one across the street, there's one in Danville, there's one in Dublin, there's one in Livermore, one in Pleasanton. So I visit all of them.
Really?
I visit all of them, man. Go in there, like, didn't tell him I was a CrossFit coach, didn't tell him anything. He just went there like, hey, we got to drop in as a member, right?
Just playing it cool.
Just playing it cool.
Not even mention anything.
Not mention anything.
Hold on. Let me take a quick pause. So, back to the story. You're now looking at a CrossFit gym of your own. There's CrossFit gyms everywhere.
Yep.
And prior to jumping in to that, you made the choice, I'm going to go and check all the local ones out
All the
here.
local ones out, yeah. So I went
It's a
to
good run,
Danville and did the class there, dropped in there and everything else. And they were good gyms. They were all really good gyms. They all had their own niche and everything like that, right? But I needed something, that was like, kind of small to start out with. 'Cause I didn't want somebody who already did something already because, like, I didn't have a whole lot to offer at the time.
Okay.
So I needed to find somebody that was a little small. And B, wanted to make sure that they had the same values that I have, right?
Crucial.
Super crucial, right?
Crucial.
Like, coming from San Francisco CrossFit, like, they have the high standards. Like, make sure you have movement. Make sure you understand programming. Make sure you understand these tracks, right? To understand that. And all those things, and make sure that the care of the athlete is kind of like the number one thing, right? Like, make sure you have the experience. So all those things were all important to me, right? And so you go to the CrossFit gyms, and they do a great job in doing different things. And some of them have really high credentials. Some of them might hire just a couple of people here and there, right? And not say there was anything bad with that. It wanted to make sure that the gym philosophy is on track. And I love CrossFit, and I love the way where it's going and everything else like that. But I wanted to make sure that CrossFit, where it started was grassroots, just average Joes getting fit. Like if it's moms who come in at their lunchtime, whatever, right? It's just that was important to me. So I come here, and Tim only has maybe 50 or so members or something like that, and needed a coach at the time. And so I took your class and dropped in. I met Tim and Karen Smith and Lori, and they're just regular people just trying to just stay fit. Tim has a really good sense of background of like what he wants to do and things like that, and it was his values lined up about community, growing people, making sure that they're well and doing the little things that matters. Those little things resonated with me. Right?
Okay.
And so I said, hey, I worked out at San Francisco CrossFit, intern there a bunch, and coach out of there. Man, you think you got a job for me? He goes, yeah, man. Sounds like you're okay. You work out with Kelly? And I was like, yeah. I worked out with Kelly, right? So that worked out really well. I fit right in and running the classes there. So it was different, learning different styles, and I know I had to change my approach coming to CrossFit San Ramon. Like, that was different. Like, it's just,
So then, now this is just me just being curious. So how did you change from how you operated in SF to what you bought, or how you did things?
Absolutely. So in San Francisco, you have a different crowd of people, right? It's mostly young business workers coming in the city, doing the things, a lot of tech field, things like that. And one of the things we used to do a lot of hands-on stuff, mobility, right, with like partner groups and things like that. They're all very close. Kelly created that culture. So one of the things was the super friend smashing, and I'll never forget it. Everybody at the end of the workout was like, all right, we're going to do super friend smashing. They have to take their shoes off. Somebody lays on the ground, you put your foot on the top of them and you roll on your quad. Like, it's called a super friend smashing, right?
Really?
Yeah, you might see me do it with Kimberly every now and then, but like, it's called a super friend smashing. It's one of his oldest techniques of really release, like we just talked about, like release blood flow after the end of the workout to help recovery after the end of the workout was one of the biggest things everybody had to do, some kind of cool down at the end of the workout. So we do that. I came here and did that, and it was like, I'm not taking my shoes off.
They weren't feeling it.
Okay. I was like, okay, got it, right?
Sorry to see.
It's all right. I see where it's at, and it's fine. We found other ways to do mobility at the end of it. I was like, all right, then we'll do these alternatives, right? So it's just super interesting to me that like that was one of the things that I was like, all right, I had to learn. I was like, all right, nobody's gonna take their shoes off and do the super fan smashing. Totally respect that, right? It's just different crowd of people. So I had to find my way in and kind of like different ways to add in some of those things that I've learned in a different way. So it's just one of the things that's interesting. So that brought me here, man, and that brought me to CrossFit, and we grew, and it just so happens Tim just bought one of the local gyms right as I came in, and influx of people, and it just so happened it was great because you have an experienced coach who's going to be here every morning, 5:30 a.m., 5 days a week, to help kind of transition it, because that was one of their big groups, was the morning group. So that's where most of these 5:30 people came in from years in, was that group that bought in. And
really,
and it was just worked out really well that I came in at the time that I did, and just helped kind of grow that and keep established CrossFit San Ramon where it is today.
Okay, so that was it was almost like all these little things kind of led up, and it was the perfect storm.
Perfect storm, yeah.
So
yeah
right when
yeah.
you had came in, that's when that other gym at closed down. All those members came here, and it was like, holy cow! I just landed myself in a pretty good spot.
Good spot, right?
Okay.
So that helped out me as a coach quite a bit, because then you see a lot of athletes over a good span of time. So you learn how to coach, you learn how to cue, you learn how to work with people with different ailments and these things, right? And I think that's what made me so good as a weightlifting coach, because I've had so much experience of like different athletes over a span of time. I knew how to approach it, right? And I'm still learning, right? There's still some things you learn, but I think that was kind of the big thing, right? So that kind of set me in place here as mostly the guy. I came in as the gymnastics guy, right?
So that's what you were known as.
Yes, I was the gymnastics guy, right?
That makes sense with the breakdance.
Yeah, breakdancing. I was right. Carl Powell is one of my good friends. I worked with him. I went to all his seminars. So I was the gymnastics guy for a real long time. And I tried that niche for a little while, and it was okay, and it worked out all right. And still am kind of the gymnastics guy a little bit here and there, but the weightlifting thing just kind of it fell into it.
Okay, so then let's start shifting there, since I know that we probably don't have all the time to talk as much as I would want to.
I know.
But let's just shift there. So, you're obviously now amazing Olympic weightlifting coach, and you're running one of the best programs in all of the Bay Area.
Yeah,
there's no question about that.
Question.
Now, how did a gymnastics coach how did this path towards weightlifting start, and when did it start to veer more towards youth as opposed to going on your own or doing a different route?
Right. So working at the nonprofit prior to getting a CrossFit really shaped me quite a bit, right? I learned a lot of my understandings of how to run an organization from that. And I always knew I wanted to get back to youth. I didn't know when or how, whether it be through wrestling, weightlifting, CrossFit. I was always doing that. It was always every avenue that I could take was like trying to get some youth involvement, working with a nonprofit to get CrossFit in the schools, trying to pan that out. That was what I was working on, trying to get more weightlifting exposure, more wrestling exposure. That was whatever. I was trying to do whatever, right? And it's the twofold things. Working with another organization that was trying to do youth weightlifting for in Oakland, that was one of the things that tried to help me and kind of shape me, guide me a little bit, and just finding an athlete, right? Once you find an athlete, start growing there, find some success there, get constituents to be involved and buy in, and hey, listen, I think the way to do these things is running a nonprofit organization, right? I think a nonprofit organization is going to be helpful on the back end. You can get more people involved. I don't have the capital to do it, but I know people who do have capital to do it, and I know nonprofits are very beneficial for people who have capital.
So there we go. That's someone who's understanding how this could benefit multiple people, and not just you.
Now, it didn't come down to even me and even thinking about how to do it until someone explained to me how the structure of organization on the top end works, right? And so it didn't even cross my mind. I was just like, I want a nonprofit, whether I get paid or not, right?
Really?
Yeah, because I had a nonprofit prior to it for wrestling and tried to maintain that, and we didn't make anything off of that either. So they just paid a couple of stipends here and there. So I knew that was going to be the path. Once we figured out that was going to be the path, it was just trying to get buy-in from other people involved in it, and it took multiple people to do that. But the main thing is hey, if you find something and you structure it in a way that's going to make sense for people and by and large, right, not just make sense to me, because weightlifting or youth organizations make sense to me in a nutshell, but if I organize it and structure it to where, hey, this is something that's actually going to be beneficial for people at large, not just the youth I'm working with, but everybody involved, and it's going to have a piece in it, whether it be monetary or even if it's, it's just something that people love to do, like being involved in it. Like, hey, I really like doing this. It's actually really cool, right? Like, hey, we found a spot for you. Starting there, just kind of being able to do that was really helpful. And of course, having such an extensive background and helping people in youth, people start coming in and word of mouth, and people just start seeing the fruits of our labors, right? Like I didn't do anything differently than what I've been doing. To be honest with you, it's just helping kids or helping people, right?
So hold on. So that was the original purpose. Nothing more than that.
More than that, man.
I just want to do this to help people.
I just wanted to be involved in youth in some shape or form and help them with life, right? Like whatever it is, like use this as a vehicle. Say, if you can do this, you can do life, right? Like this is going to be hard, but you're going to take these lessons to learn how to do life. Like that was it. That was the big goal.
This is going to kind of go back a little bit, or I don't know how far.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that mindset come from, or where does that desire come from? Like what? Because there's a lot of people getting this for ulterior motives or certain kind of reasons, but it's obviously very refreshing to hear when this started and as it's going. That was the purpose, to just help the youth get better and get ready for real life.
Yeah.
So where did that originally become something that you felt, this is what I need to be doing?
That is it does go back far back, right? It goes back to some of my childhood stuff because I needed it when I was younger. But a lot of it comes back from, working in San Francisco in the Excelsior district. See a lot of stuff, man. See a lot of stuff, right? And it was just one instance, right, that like sparked this whole thing, right? One instance was I was able to bring in one boy from that organization, like from the school that he was at, bring him in to do something different with his life and drastically change his life. That was it for me, right? We had this organization as an internship where we say, hey, you come in underneath my wing, we're going to help guide you into these things, and we're going to give you a job, we're going to give you means to make money, way to support yourself, and we're going to give you your first work experience ever, right? Took somebody in, brought her, I'll never forget her name was Carrie. Brought her in, and she had a lot going on, right? Got a lot going on. And brought her in the gym, and she struggled a lot, kept on her, but we were able to get her through. She ended up moving in a situation out of where she was at, been able to move to Angel Island. She got to the Job Corps. She has a family now. She has a baby. She talks to me every now and then. She kisses me up every now and then. And she almost called me. She was calling me her dad a lot of times. So I'm not your dad, right? But I am your friend, right? But she looked at me that way, and just seeing that, just that transformation in general, where it went the other way for another kid that I was at, and he ended up not making it past 18, So, so that was huge for me, right? That was super huge for me, and you can only help so many people, right? And if I touch 100 people, but if I can just help one person, that makes it worth it in the end, right?
Absolutely.
Right, so I felt like I've already done what I needed to do, but I can always do more, right? So if I can help anybody else more, or if I make it just 2 people that I can help in over the line for the line, change a life. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good for myself.
You're doing extremely well.
Yeah, so that's where it all came from, right? And that was just one thing, right? And one person. So that shaped me across the board. And then you can help everybody in any situations ever, right? So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where that original passion comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to go fast forward. We're not going to keep you on too long. So, Fortified.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the history of Fortified. How you guys got it off the ground, where it started. I don't know how much you want to talk about Kimberly. She's not here, or
yeah. She's a big proponent of that, and she's a big proponent of that. I mean, and she definitely was the reason why it all came together, because she was my first athlete, and the whole reason why I even started teaching weightlifting in youth is she's doing really, really well. She's very passionate about it. Should bring other people in. Right? Let's get her around people. I don't want her to just do this thing, me and her. We could, and that's how weightlifting is. Like, it's just like one coach, one athlete. They travel the world, right?
We could run it solo.
We could run it solo, right? And I would have been just fine running it solo, right? I was getting paid handsomely to do it, and it was totally fine. And I could have just left it that way.
And you're in your purpose, because you're adding value to a person's
to
life.
One person. Yeah, one person. But
you're set.
Yeah, I was set. I said. Am I bringing life value to her, right? Is she getting what I want out of people when they do something like together, socially, right? Because I think that's super important, right? Like, you have to have a social aspect to it. You have to have a life. You have to understand that. You got to work with people, right? I think I got to get around other people that are doing it, right? Whether they really are good or not, whatever. I just need to get around other people. So I said, hey, Tim, man, I got this one athlete. She's doing really well. Hey, can I start a weightlifting class here, right?
Really?
Totally, right? I was like, I don't really care about making a lot of money off it. Pay me my hourly that I normally get. you can charge whatever you want, right? But I can tell you from history, you should charge this much.
Okay. So you had some parameters.
Yeah.
Just things to think about.
Yeah. He's like, that seems like a lot, man. I was like, trust me.
Trust me.
You charge this much. Trust me. What I'm offering, you're never gonna see anything like it. Trust me. So you gotta know your worth, man.
That's real.
You gotta know your worth.
Real.
Right? I was like, trust me on this one. Charge this money. I was like, all right. End up charging what I asked him to charge. Very fruitful. Very, very fruitful. Class fills up right away, right? And the funny part was I was supposed to do it for 8 weeks. I was going to go back to wrestling.
Really? So this was supposed to be an 8-week gig?
It was an 8-week
gig. A pilot program, test it out, see where it goes?
It was only supposed to be 8 weeks. Filled it up. 12 people in there, right?
Okay.
All right, cool. 8 weeks up. Going back to wrestling, right? Get a phone call. You got kids here, man. They're here.
Really?
They shove it up.
So it was done. Program was technically done. And you get a phone call, hey, there's people here.
Kids are here. Kids are here. Ready to weightlift. Okay. Head over, right? Drive on down. Guess you guys didn't get enough, huh? Like, yeah, we like this.
Wow.
So I think, Tim, I can't do it. I have a commitment. I'm going back to wrestling. They ended up hiring somebody else to do it for a while I was gone. And I tried to jump in here and there, right? Didn't go out so well, right? So you gotta have people, right? Didn't go so well.
Gotta have the right people.
Yeah, it ended up having everybody left and only had a couple athletes. Had to rebuild the program when I came back, which I did. I ended up rebuilding it. Had a whole new slew of people come in, and I had another slew of people, which was really fantastic. So I ended up rebuilding it up, coming back and doing it, and so I just was running this program. So the program Fortified had existed before Fortified even existed, right? So we were using the same model that I used back then. And it came to a point to where we're growing and everybody wanted to get a piece of it, try to merge with another organization, and didn't work out. Our goals wouldn't match up because they wanted to do it just in their location, but I was like, well, I'm not going to be limiting myself. I have people here, I have families here. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to keep doing my thing here, right? You guys keep doing your thing there, I'm going to keep doing my thing here. But I said, hey, I gotta make something out of it, right? I don't want to just do this random thing where I'm collecting money from people. So, after a lot of talks and a lot of working out with a lot of people, we were able to say, hey, can we establish an organization underneath this umbrella? How much do we need to make it run? They're like, well, I can front for this much. You already have the equipment here. I just need you to front this for your capital. And I was like, I don't need anything. They're like, well, to make it run, you need somebody in there who can sustain their life and see this thing out, right? Which is actually really important, right? Like, because if I'm just struggling making money here and there, like, it'd be really hard for me to maintain, right?
Absolutely.
So somebody came in and said, hey, we'll front it for the first year, right? And be able to, at least you would get some monetary value from doing this, right? Okay. And we're going to put it underneath an umbrella organization, and you're just basically just going to keep it running. If you keep a minimum of 10 kids in the program, you're set, right? So I think I can do that.
Okay.
Start the organization. Started running. People get the value out of it, and I'm getting an actual check. And I'm for the first time in a long time, right? For an organization.
Wow.
That was crazy, right? It's fantastic, right? But I'm getting this check, and I'm like, this is more than I need. I could do more, right?
Wow.
I used to do this little kids class with my kids. It was like a 5 to 6 year old class, and I said, hey, let me bring that back, right? I can do that. Really? Yeah. Okay. Right. Bring it on, right? I didn't charge for it the first year. And I was like, yeah, just make it free. People come on. And I start paying for it, right? People are like, all right, yeah, let's see value to it. I was like, this is cool.
Hold on really quick. I just want to put a note. Give and you shall receive.
Yeah.
That's a very crucial thing that you guys just witnessed how it affects in real life. He didn't charge for that program, giving it all, and he later reaped the benefits of that harvest later.
Oh yeah. That program was free for about a year and a half, right? Didn't charge anything for it. And so I was like, I could do more, right? Had another class, right? And just kept kind of piling it on, and that's where it kind of grew from there, right? But it really just started just by just me teaching 10 kids in the back of the corner of a gym how to lift a barbell, right?
So really quick, just to kind of get people, what's our timeline? So you start basically, once you start this becoming your full-time thing, what year was that?
So that was back in 2020, right after the right in the middle of the pandemic.
Right. Okay. So that happened right in the middle.
Right in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah, I think that's an important note. We ended up starting this organization in the middle of the pandemic.
That is an important note. So
kind of important note. And so there's a lot of uncertainty there, but I had faith that humans would see it through, right? I had that faith that we were going to see it out, right?
Another key word, faith.
Like, I was like, we're going to get out of this. I swear we're going to get out of this. Let's start it now, and I promise you we're going to get out of this. I know it, right? We'll see a way. We're going to get back to some normalcy here. So that was really hard, right? Like, it was actually doing it, right? And buying people in to come into a physical space to do weightlifting. Part of this, too, right, which is, I left an important part out of this out, too, when I was starting this class, when I had just started coming back and rebuilding the program, the pandemic hit, kind of like that put a loophole in everything. I knew it was going to hit, and I actually canceled my classes early before anybody else did. I said, let's just not bring anybody in. I said I canceled the classes, and I canceled them for, about a week. And right at that, I was like, well, I got to keep this up. I was like, they need a schedule, right? They need to, if our classes are at 3:45, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They need to have this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Because they're about to get hit hard.
Wow. Okay. So that's understanding of what possibly could be coming, and you seeing, hey, this may be one of those things that's going to keep them with a little bit of normalcy during these times. At the time, nobody knew how this was going to be.
So, crazy enough, I was like, all right, log into Zoom. Here's my Zoom login. And for the whole year, I'm on Zoom teaching weightlifting on a computer screen in an office in my house. I ended up buying somebody donated a big monitor to me. I had a big monitor in my laptop, so I was like having there. I have the Yeah. And so we had a couple of people that had weights at home, and I said, well, just take the weights here. I'm not going to use them. Take them. Just take them out of the gym, right?
Okay.
Right? And so I just started handing out weights. Somebody got wind I was doing this, and do you have any more kids? I was like, well, I got a lot of kids that don't have any weights, and they just come online and just do some body weight stuff. Well, if we buy them weights, I was like, cool, let's buy them weights, right? Ended up driving down to Hayward to this place called Kingdom Fitness, just buying weights, and I just started hand delivering barbells and weights to people.
Hand delivering barbells and weights, online program. So this is Fortified.
This is Fortified. This is
Fortified.
This is before we even established Fortified Strength, right?
This was the groundwork. This is where you guys were at.
Yeah, and we're just online programming for the first year. Fortified Strength, just banding out weights, man.
Wow.
And that's what kept them in shape, and that's why a lot of them are still doing it and able to do it, man. And kind of and that's kind of the name Fortified. It came from. Both my grandfathers were in the military. Wow. Both my grandfathers were in the military, both of them, served the military and came out of it with really nothing left. But they came back and was able to get their family in check, get them moving, and everything else. I needed a word that signified something like that, something that just signified that, which is the reason why we have the crest, the way it's shaped, the way it is too,
so
like a badge.
Okay.
Right. So I had a lot of that design is mostly me. I just had somebody just help me with the images and everything like that. So I wanted a crest, I wanted a badge, and I needed a word that signified that. Right. So we looked up military words, and Fortified came up, and I said that sounds really, really good. I'm putting foundation in place. It starts with the letter F, and it puts everything together. Right. And I want you to put the 3 stars on there because I like these 3 athletes, the ones on the board up here, and I say put the 3 stars in there, signify the next athlete. And let's put a girl in the signal, right? Because nobody will imagine girls will be strong.
So that's the logic behind every.
Yeah, there's a logic behind it. There was a lot of thought process in it, right? And I was like, let's put Kimberly on there. I was like, it's totally fine. After she's long gone, you can tell stories about it later on down the line, right? You know what I mean? Because you do the same thing with the NBA signal, right?
Yeah.
There's stories about it, right? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, that's the NBA logo, right? So I was like, yeah, put a logo on there, right? You have a story about it, right? And and now we are saying strength, right? So not only did I have a lot of successful girls in there, but I have a lot of successful boys that come out of this program too, because it's not one person; it's just Fortified, right?
Just Fortified.
Yeah, nobody even thinks about it anymore. I used to was worried about it. I was like, how am I gonna get boys in there if I have a girl signal in there? But nobody even thinks about it anymore. It's not even a big deal.
They just play. Everyone's here.
Yeah, everyone's here. So.
If you're not here, then you need to get here.
So that was kind of the logic behind it, and growing in every step of the way, right? We have a system to put in place, which is very helpful that I have people around to do that, because And I'm a big proponent of it because I've seen it work in the prior to it, right? And I wanted to make sure I keep that system. And really, the next step for us is to be self-sustaining.
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 What's that look like? Tell me about that.
So in a nonprofit model, a lot of times is that you either have a lot of donors, you have a grant writer, you write grants, and that's where a lot of your large funding comes in because you provide the service for free, right?
Okay.
We can't really do that in a self-sustaining model. We have to have something that's monetary and we people pay for. So being in the area we are, hey, let's get it off the ground. People who can pay will pay, right? People who can't, we'll just we'll do whatever we need to do, right?
Figure it out.
So we have a model that like sets different parameters there, but quite honestly, if somebody really can't pay, they really want to be a part of the program. Hey, if you show up every day, show up every day.
Show your commitment to it.
Show your commitment. Show up every day, right? That's all you really have to do,
And we'll meet you.
And we'll meet you. We'll meet you wherever you're at, right? And that was the idea for it, right? Because there are people who won't be able to. There are people who are going to be able to. So that's a self-sustaining model. Same model we have in San Francisco when we were doing the organizations there. A lot of the schools that we worked at paid minimal, right? Whatever it may be. But the rest of the organization supported that nonprofit side of it, right? And that's how it worked out. And it worked out really well for them. And they provide classes for thousands of kids, right? And that's the self-sustaining model. So I'm hoping to get to the place where we're self-sustaining. If I can get to a point where we're self-sustaining, I can start outreaching more, right? I can start doing more in the schools, going to different communities and start doing that, right? So getting the model set in place where we have a model that can self-sustain, we're not relying on huge donors, grants, or whatever else, big fundraisers, right? We'll still have all those things that we need, right? We'll still have all that stuff, but we're not reliant on it, right? If we lost all those things today, we can still keep the program running.
So that's what the self-sustaining, that's what that looks like.
Yes.
Whether we have donors or
not, right?
We could still operate.
We can still operate, right, with the self-sustaining models. And we're almost there. We're actually really, really close to the self-sustaining model.
There we go.
Yeah, we're really, really close. So I'm super excited about that. But that was the idea behind it, right? I wanted to be an organization that was self-sustaining, bigger than me, right? So if I leave, somebody else comes on and take it on, it's still running.
They can still go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting to that point.
So I don't want to jump, but we're gonna have some jumps. Since starting Fortified, let's talk about highlights. Highlights, special moments that when you go back to, it might be a tear jerker, whether it be something that happened at practice, something with Kimberly at a weightlifting event, one of your athletes who's their first time. I know that there's a bunch of these, but I want you to try to just narrow out like some of the big, huge.
There's one.
Monumental
Running comes right out to mine.
Okay.
I'm gonna try not to A, cry, and B, let too much out information, right?
Okay.
When I started this organization, we had a student in here, and coming in with a lot of body image issues, right? A lot of body image issues. Tim actually was the first one that got exposure to him. He came in, a little bit overweight, needed just something to try to shed weight, right? Started doing CrossFit, coming in here, and wasn't comfortable with himself, just pulling his shirt down a lot, just not confident at all, and just couldn't do anything, right? Went far, lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
Went super far, actually borderline, hey, you actually need to do eat and get some weightlifting in. Like, you actually have to, you're going too far into it, right? I'm glad you lost all this weight, but it's actually getting dangerous. Tim recommended him, you should get into weightlifting. Coach Ed's got this program, you should try that. Oh, yeah, I'll try it out, right? Super shy kid. Comes in and starts killing it, weightlifting, right? Started loving it, like one of my star athletes. Like doesn't have the movement there or anything like that, but then just starts going into it, starts researching it, looking at the history of weightlifting, telling me quick notes and stuff like that, right? Kind of like your guy, right? Like, hey, did you know about this? And stuff like that. I was like, man, I didn't actually know this. I was like, well, did you know? And then we just go back and forth, just diving into the world of weightlifting, like I wouldn't believe, like looking up all the people online and just really getting into it. I was like, all right, well, we go to this national championship every year. You want to go? Like, yeah, I want to go, right? I was like, all right, cool, let's get on the national champions, right? Get on the first competition, miss it by a couple of kilos. All right, we'll go to the next one, right? Miss it by a couple of kilos again. I was like, all right, well, we got this, right? I know you're going up in age group. It's going to get harder each time you go up in age groups, but we're going to keep working. You're going to make a nationals meet. Pandemic hits, right? all right, I'm gonna keep you on line. I have a rack. I'm gonna give you a squat rack. I need you to squat. You need to do this because we're gonna get you to nationals. You're going to nationals. If I'm gonna die on this hill, you're going to nationals. I give him my own squat rack. I was like, take my stuff. I don't need it. Like, you get better than me. I don't care.
Wow.
Right? That's why I remember dropping it off at his house and like he put it in his garage and he like modeled it and it was funny, right? And then like randomly like just starts falling off. Like I don't see or hear from him or anything like that. And I've had conversations like this with his family before, and his dad. His dad comes to me and a year prior to it, like, as he's still weightlifting, we're still in person, he's like crying, he's in tears. He's like, you have no idea how much you saved my son's life, right? Like, you can't believe this. Like, here's $800. He just gives me cash, $800. Like, I don't want this. I was like, no, please take it. You have no idea how much you saved my son's life. Like, he's in tears, and I'll never forget this. We're in the back here, and he's giving me this money, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm here for your son, right? Like, no matter what. Like, he's absolutely in tears. He's so grateful for the programming, and we're keeping on going. Falls out again, though. Has a lot going on, I don't see her for a year, right? End up having to go to drop out of school, go to this camp to help him with his confidence and everything else. There's just so much going on. I'm keeping in touch with the family too, and mind you, and he sends me a letter in this camp, like a 3-page letter. Coach Ed, I'm super grateful for everything you do. I'm sorry that I left without saying anything. As soon as I'm better, I'm gonna come back to weightlifting, right? Like I want to do this, and just give me some time. I send him a letter back, like, don't worry about it. Take care of yourself, man. Thank you for you have no idea what it means to me to send this letter to me. Like it means so much to me. I'll be here for you no matter what. Like, you tell me whatever you need, right? So we send letters back and forth, right? I don't see him, and we open up the space here, and the organization's going. We're going to nationals, and I end up hiring some guy that worked out for a little while, but ended up having he quit. And so I'm by myself trying to run this organization here. He walks through the door.
Wow.
I said, you coming back? He said, yeah, I want to come back and wait. I say, better yet, how about I hire you as my assistant coach? And he could, he was enthralled, man. And he was like, he came in and, he's who he is today, man. It's just, it kills me every time I see him in here, man. He's grown so much, man. He was gonna end it. He was gonna end it all, man. And he didn't. He hung in there, man.
That's huge.
Huge, man.
That's huge.
And I don't.
It's even more because I know what you're talking about. So
I don't tell people that story, man.
It's huge.
And that's the story, man. And that keeps me going, man. Every day.
That's another life.
He's going to college next year, man. Doing a 4-year college after this, man, and he'll be going, living his life. So, yeah, it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. Nobody knows, man. And where he's at today, man.
I know, and if you're listening to this eventually, I hope that you do. Man, I think very, very highly of you. I see how hard you work. I see how much time you spend with these kids, the effort that you put in. Clearly, what you're doing is huge, and you are changing lives. I just want you to know that I recognize that, and everyone else here does too. All right. This is tough. That's great. Tough moments. So, there's probably going to have to be a part 2 because we didn't even talk about Kimberly.
Yeah, that's a whole nother one.
We didn't talk about nationals. We didn't talk about how there's so many other athletes here that half the world probably doesn't even know of yet that are going to be making a huge, huge name. Yeah. So there's a lot of things taking place. But let's end it on kind of a fun note. We're going to kind of do like a flash question. I'm going to throw some random stuff unexpected at you that people might catch off guard. And he doesn't know what I'm asking next either. This is not planned out. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you 10 questions, very, very random. So I already know one of them, but I'm asking anyway because they might not know. So number one, first, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Oh, Sword and Stone, man.
Sword and Stone, which you recently had me rewatch. Very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hidden gems in that movie if you haven't seen it. If you remember that one as a kid, watch it as an adult. It will literally open your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2. Favorite genre of music?
Man, 80s rock, man, believe it or not, man.
80s rock.
80s rock, man.
Okay. Any particular band, songs?
Dude, man, I don't know if I have to do with people here, man, but Metallica.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, man.
All right. Number 3. Favorite lift?
Favorite lift? Surprisingly enough, man, it's the deadlift, man.
Deadlift?
Yeah. Close second is snatch. Snatch would be a close, like, 1A, 1B, right? But deadlift, only because I'm really good at it.
Okay. So deadlift.
Yeah.
That's your favorite lift.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This was going to be tough. I will lose some time.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite benchmark CrossFit workout?
Yeah, that is a good one. Favorite benchmark CrossFit. Okay. It may not be my favorite, but anytime it comes up, like, I have to do it.
Okay, which one's that?
It's the 7s.
The 7.
The 7s.
Really?
I don't know what it is, man. It's not my favorite workout.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, man. But like something pulls me to that workout, right? And it is like, that is my workout that tells me that, like, okay, I'm in shape. Because a little bit of heavy lifting in there, and it's 7 rounds. There's a lot of cardio stuff in there. There's some gymnastics in there. It's got a little bit of everything in there for me, and that's kind of like who I am, right?
Okay.
So the 7s.
I like that. Okay. If you weren't a weightlifting coach and killing it with Fortified, what would you be doing?
Okay. I'm gonna give you 2 answers to that. One, totally wrestling. Like, if it wasn't weightlifting, I'd be doing something wrestling involved.
Okay.
100%. Right?
100%.
Like, that's who I am. Like, that's one of my first loves. The second thing, actually, believe it or not, man, if I wasn't doing any of the things in the fitness continuum, I would find a way to get into sketch comedy.
Sketch comedy? That could be a different topic. Sketch comedy, okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, man. It seems like it'd be really fun, and it's like something that's awkward to me. Like, I'd make myself be more open and just be like more emotionally in tune, because I'm not sometimes. Like, so
Really?
it's something to just get me out of my box, man.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would do sketch comedy.
I never guessed that. Sketch comedy. All right, moving on now. So, we got 5 more. Favorite food?
Favorite food?
Or if that's too hard, like genre food, like Americana, Japanese, Chinese.
To be honest with you, man, this is one thing that I live with, and if there's one meal I can live with, it's probably just pasta, spaghetti meatballs. I could probably eat that and I know, it sounds crazy, but spaghetti meatballs, pasta, man, that would be it.
Okay.
Until the end of time.
Until the end of time.
If I needed to.
All right, so we asked about the Disney movie, and I think I know what the answer is, but I'm going to ask anyways. Favorite normal movie?
Favorite normal movie?
Yeah, if it's not the Disney movie, do you have just a favorite normal movie, or I don't want to say Rocky, but
Rocky's up there. Yeah, I like Rocky a lot. That's definitely one of my favorite movies, man. But like, there are, yeah, I have to think about them. But Rocky is definitely up there. If I was gonna watch it, if I'm gonna watch anything, sit down, casually sit down, I was gonna watch Rocky. There are some movies out there. I can't think of them right at the gate. That are more insightful. That I'm like, I'd much rather like sit down and I'll sit down and focus on this movie all day.
Oh.
And but Rocky be one of them for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So far now, this one's gonna be kind of tough. As a weightlifting coach, favorite venue that you've traveled to so far? As a weightlifting coach, favorite venue that you've traveled to?
Favorite venue. No, so I have to think about that, because a lot of the venues we've gone to have been okay, but the favorite venue, actually, believe it or not, favorite venue is actually Detroit, Michigan, and then only because it was a nice hall and it was out the actual event, I didn't like it at all, but the venue was really nice. The venue was actually really nice, and the way they had to set it up there, the training hall was very organized, and it was a really good venue. Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
excellent venue. Now, kind of, I don't want to count this as a question. Do you have a favorite place that you travel to off time, like when you're in vacay mode? Like where we find Coach Ed if he's on vacay and he could go anywhere?
If I can go anywhere?
Where's that place?
Man, that's actually really tough, man. I don't take vacations, man. Yeah, but if I was gonna go anywhere, man, I'll be honest with you, man. I would love to take like a road trip and see the Grand Canyon.
Oh wow!
And it would be one thing I'd like to do. Just take a road trip.
Just take a
on
road
the road.
trip.
Yeah, on the road.
On the road.
Yeah.
Whole family.
Whole family.
Whole family.
Yeah,
road trip.
Yeah. Because I like doing it. I like exploring
Okay.
new things.
All right. I like that a lot too. All right. Last question, and we're gonna end it. Who would you say right now, or in your lifetime, who have been your closest or your role models?
I have multiple of them, and I have a couple of them for a reason because I take a little bit from everybody. Probably, honestly, if I was gonna do that, one of my big role models is a friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. He's Sean Ullman. He's a break dancer. We go by the name of Iron Monkey. Probably one of the big role models, just because he lived his life the way he lived. Maybe not in some aspects of his life, like that I might have followed, but he was a big influence on me, right? In the sunlight of business, actually, in business and organization, would probably be one of my old mentors at the nonprofit I used to work for, Dory Huntington, right? The way she organized her business and everything else, I try to model that as best I can.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add that we kind of feel? Because obviously, like I said, there will be a part 2, because this is basically almost, watching you has been like a Dragon Ball Z saga, how there's multiple trilogies of things that have occurred. I don't want to use it for those who don't know that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like
it's
that,
a lot,
because there's the Kimberly saga.
There's a lot.
Those events. There's all these different things.
There's a lot of events going on.
But
Yeah.
is there anything that you want to just leave by adding or saying about
man.
yourself?
Yeah. I will say, man, that the business of helping people is not always doesn't seem very fruitful in the beginning, right? You don't see the fruit of your labels until years down the line. You know what I mean? Like just the example I just gave, right? I didn't know what was going to come out of that. I have no idea, right? But it wasn't until 2023, and I met some of these kids in 2018. So it was like 5 or 6 years have gone by before I've seen any change happen, right? So
5 or 6 years have been faithful to something that he started and letting it grow and be what it's supposed to.
Yeah, I had no idea, right? What was going to involve in it, right? And this is because every day, showing up every day on that clock every day, right? I think I've missed a total of 2 weeks in the last 6 years here from this organization, right? So it's every day, man, doing something. So yeah,
that's what it takes.
That's what it takes, man.
That's real. It's not, because it's true. People get it's so easy to get discouraged or off track.
Yeah, man.
And once again, you've had multiple reasons to.
Mm-hmm.
You had COVID come up when you were getting fired up.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously knew that this was supposed to be an 8-week thing,
mm-hmm.
and that was going to be it. It was 8 weeks and back to wrestling.
Yeah.
And then you end up coming back anyways and
Yeah.
having to do this. And like you said, you had an individual who you had grew very, very close to and had high hopes, and then that person leaves, kind of vanishes. That's not easy to kind of deal with, because obviously you had so many high hopes, and like you said, you didn't know what the outcome was, and basically you were seeing yourself as doing everything right.
Mm-hmm.
I basically did everything that in that time that I could.
Yeah.
And it's almost, you almost start to question things.
100%.
Am I doing this right? What did I cause this? Was it something I wasn't there for or witnessing?
Yeah.
And you obviously start playing, what am I doing? And then obviously getting that letter was almost, I could only imagine, when it hits you, but then it was okay, this wasn't in vain.
No.
This was something that I didn't see. And that's kind of how, what you spoke about, is planting something and seeing the harvest later. Because everybody wants the right now. Yeah. Everybody's it's expecting.
Instant.
Yeah. And when I don't want to quote people, but when we come from a place where you could purchase, or you could live in your house and purchase it later. You could buy a car and live in it later. You could throw your food in and have it within minutes. There are certain things that don't work that way. And it's the real way that it's supposed to be, which is you plant the seed and you water, you make sure that it's where it needs to be, and you just hope that it's going to spring and grow into what you want it to. You obviously had that faith for years.
Yeah.
Like I said, 5 years, 6 years,
Yeah.
that's a long time to go without seeing the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Like you said, 2 weeks off in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know people take 2 weeks off within the first 2 months when they get their vacay.